Hey, Phil, that is all I have.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I call to order the February 8th, 2021 public meeting of the Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners. First, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag, followed by a moment of thanks for members of the armed forces, especially those in harm's way this evening. First responders, healthcare workers, food supply workers, our municipal staff and employees who are helping our community and country through these trying times. Also, a sad note with the passing of longtime Public Works employee, retired Edward Yandrisovitz, also known as EJ. Let us keep his family this evening. Let us begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
and justice
with
for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Next, I'll read the HUD statement. Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing and to review all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township, in its land use decisions, does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, natural origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. Approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? Approval of the minutes, I'm sorry, of the January 2021 meeting.
I'll make the motion, Marks.
You have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Who is that?
Here,
Mr. Thick, any comments from the commissioners? Any changes to the minutes? Comments from the public? There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner D,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren. Aye. Commissioner Sloniker, aye, and President Ginder.
Yes.
Voting for the approval of the minutes passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Before we go to courtesy of the floor, I have another note. The Board of Commissioners was in executive session on the 5th of February at 7 p.m. in the Copley Whitehall Sewer Authority meeting room for personnel and legal issues. So that is duly noted in the minutes. Let us move on to courtesy of the floor, please. Anybody in to speak? Melissa. Are you there? Are you there, Melissa?
Yes, Donald Kelly wishes to speak, and he is now unmuted.
Okay, Mr. Kelly, go ahead.
Hi, Donald Kelly, 2722 Halleck Drive, Whitehall, PA, 18052. Good evening. As everyone knows, on December 17th, a decision was made to close the cement and fire station of the Whitehall Fire Department. I'm not here to debate that decision or how it was handled. I do feel we missed an opportunity to thank the many women and men who for almost 120 years provided volunteer fire protection services to the residents of Cementon, Whitehall Township, and all its surrounding communities. These dedicated volunteers donated their time applying for grants, conducting raffles, standing on a corner for their annual coin toss, providing parking assistance at the Cement Belt Fair, and many other fundraising activities to help lessen the financial burden on the township budget. These volunteers spent many hours away from their families, training on firefighting, CPR, first aid, vehicle rescue, and water rescue to ensure they were ready to respond to almost any emergency, not only in Whitehall Township, but anywhere they were called to respond to. So tonight, in this public meeting, I would like to recognize and thank the many volunteers from the Cement and Fire Station for all their efforts to provide fire protection and emergency management services to Whitehall Township for nearly 120 years. Thank you for your time.
Well said, Mr. Kelly. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak, Melissa?
No, we have no one else wishing to speak.
All right, then let us move on with public hearing and voting on ordinances. Bill number 32, 2020, this is a second hearing. An ordinance amending the official zoning map of Whitehall Township by rezoning an approximately 31.65 acre parcel owned by Whitehall Township from R1 very low density residential to C2A local commercial. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to Sloniker.
Do we have a second?
I'll second D.
Comments from the board? Any comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
Excuse me, Phil.
Yes?
I had seen, I think in the chat room, that somebody wanted to speak on that, but I'm not seeing it.
I know somebody wanted to speak on bill number 1.
Dana. Oh, I see. You're right. I'm incorrect. Sorry, Phil.
That's fine, just so we don't miss anybody. All right, there being no comments from the public, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren. Aye. Commissioner Marks. Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 1, 2021, an ordinance amending chapter 15, section 37 of the 2006 codified ordinances of Whitehall Township, establishing a 410-foot length no parking zone along both sides of Roosevelt Street, bordering Roosevelt View Townhouse Development and number 4236 Roosevelt Street in the Egypt area, the Township of Whitehall, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. The administration has asked that this voting on this be tabled tonight, but we're certainly going to get into some discussion with it. Who would like to speak first? Mayor?
I'd be glad to. This is a very odd circumstance, but instead of me speaking here, I think Peter Terry might give us his observations about the circumstances in the field. And Pete is here as an attendee, Melissa.
Peter?
Yes.
Peter, yes.
Just as a note, Peter Terry is our traffic engineer. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening. So physically, Roosevelt Street to the south is approximately 28 feet wide. In front of the townhouses, it's approximately 25 feet wide. And north of the townhouses on the properties to the north, it narrows further down to 18 feet. The northbound lane varies probably from 9 feet up at the north, between 9 and 10 feet in front of the townhouses, and then it's slightly wider to the south. There is curbing located to the south of the site. In front of the townhouses, there is curbing, there is sidewalk. As you proceed further south, on the west side, there is curbing in some sections, or curbing along the roadway, sidewalk in some sections, but not sidewalk in the entire area. The issue comes to be whether in front of the townhouse area, that existing 25 feet is adequate to allow parking on the west side of the roadway. So essentially you have a 10-foot wide northbound lane, a 15-foot wide southbound lane. PennDOT standards would indicate that to allow parking, you need an 18-foot width from the center line to the curb line or edge of roadway. So in front of the townhouse units, there is inadequate area to allow parking by PennDOT standards. Looking at the traffic situation, the township police used their equipment. They identified a very good 85th percentile, which often traffic engineers would use this to set speed limits. The 85th percentile is very near the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Unfortunately, the data that was collected also shows vehicles traveling in excess of 40 miles an hour. Even I think northbound was 42 and southbound was 46 miles per hour were the fastest vehicles that were collected during a week of data collection. So there is certainly an issue with people speeding in the area. However, the police indicate that it's not something that would be easy to enforce, since less than 10% of the vehicles exceed the speed limit by more than 5 miles an hour, which is their criteria before they can issue a ticket. This situation is very challenging in that vehicles that do park along Roosevelt Street legally cannot block a driveway, but they can park adjacent to a driveway. This makes it very difficult for someone entering or exiting a driveway to have adequate sight distance. At an intersection, PennDOT can require that parking be restricted for that reason. Going into the history of the approval and construction of the townhouse project and why the curb was placed where it is, I'm not party to how that was done or when that occurred. If I had it to do over, I would have the street widened to provide that 18-foot half width to potentially add the parking in front of the townhouse unit. That unfortunately is water under the bridge in this situation. I'd love your questions and ideas and comments.
Okay, open it up to the board. I'll start. Go ahead. Was that you, Charles?
Yeah, Mr. Terry, is there any other way that the residents could park on that street? I know it's a narrow situation. I mean, I drove back there after the snowstorm, and I saw all the cars that were packed in there and buried in snow. What other options could exist for these residents?
I guess the best option, I hate to say this, could be to widen the roadway to provide an adequate width. I should also note that the police identified only 3 crashes in this section of roadway. One was a DUI. The other 2 were, one was in the parking lot to the north of the site, which was a hit and run, and the third was a side swipe. And I'm not 100% sure it was right in this section in front of the townhouses. They didn't have a direct location. What else could be done is a challenge, because there isn't additional right-of-way adjacent to the roadway either. So it would be a challenge to widen the roadway.
So, I mean, with those 3 accidents that you mentioned, is that like a statistically significant, amount of accidents for a set of roadway? Is that more or less than usually occurs on a roadway, on an average roadway of that size in the township?
Those 3 crashes were over a 5-year period, and I would say that's probably typical.
Okay, thank you.
What do we do for the initial inquiries into straightening out the problem on this road? I believe there were 4 property owners that initially queried this. How do we handle this?
It's a problem, Phil. There's no question.
So at this point, I think everybody was a little stunned, for where we're at with this at this point. I believe maybe is it possible it should be pulled back and studied just a little harder, if anything else can be done in that area, or
During the staff meeting today, Phil, there was, I think, a presumption that it might be better to wait to look at it again, see if we don't have some epiphany and another way to deal with this. We have, I think, more people here tonight concerned about this and than we have for almost any other thing in the past year. So I know their concerns.
It makes sense to study it the second time and make sure we get things right. I'm going to come back to the Board of Commissioners in case there's any more comments, but right now I think probably there's people in the audience that want to speak on this. Let's listen to them.
We have a comment from Brandon Meyer. He says vehicles are generally going a lot faster than 40 miles per hour, especially during warmer months. And he said he was hit by a vehicle while walking his dog several years ago. I did not report the incident because I could not get a license plate number and my animals were more important at the time. I attended a township meeting shortly after it had happened. Many people bike and walk back here during the warmer months.
All right, is Mr. Brandon Meyer in the public? Is he on?
Yes, Brad, you're now unmuted.
Yeah, Mr. Brandon Meyer, do you want to add anything to that or go over any of that?
I don't know how the police did their study, so to say, but if you lay down those black strips, people know to slow down. I have called numerous times about people flying, especially on motorcycles during the warmer months. Don't get me wrong, that bottleneck from those townhouses being built has helped to slow people down, especially when they have to assume a bus might be coming up over the hill the opposite direction. But it's still 25 miles an hour hardly ever gets observed back here. So, that bottleneck creates a bigger issue, and it's kind of comical to see buses and UPS trucks going opposite directions during the time, but just in general, that area is bad.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to get anybody to go 25 miles an hour anywhere in the township on a 25 mile an hour street. I know that's not an answer, but we go through this all over the township and neighborhoods. Anybody else from the public who wish to speak on this?
Yes, we have 2 other people. We'll call on Dana and then Jay Levine. So Dana, you are now unmuted.
Hi. Yes. I'd like to just talk in regards to my concerns. Hold on. Can you actually unmute Jay and I'll just talk through that one?
Certainly, 1 moment. Jay.
Without the echo.
Jay, you're now unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, so my concerns are in regards to the safety that's being proposed. If we were to be parking farther down the street, there is no sidewalk the entire way from where it's being proposed that we would have to park, which would be starting in front of 4230. It's also a very poorly lit section of the road in front of 4236 where there's also no sidewalk. So at that point, you would be asking all of us residents to be parking down there and walking in the street when you just had another community member talk about several years ago being hit by a speeding car. In regards to, it's a very unfortunate thing that happened to him, but that would have been prior to the townhomes being built. Also, in regards to the 3 crashes that Mr. Terry commented about, he said that was over a 5-year period. These townhomes were only built at the end of 2018. Some of my other concerns are that generally the residents here over at Roosevelt Townhomes, we park in front of our townhomes. It is very rare that we're parking further down the street. That would be maybe if we have a family gathering or something. But generally our cars are all parked in front of the townhome area here. There's actually, if you look at, I received copies of the complaints that had been sent in by the neighbors, and one of them also included some photos. And in the one photo, you can see how the road in front of the townhomes was actually widened in order to, I'm going to believe, accommodate parking. It's also my understanding from the builder that when he was building the first set of townhomes, he wanted to be able to park in the 2 middle townhomes 2 cars, and that the township voted that down or didn't approve it. But then when he built the second one, they did accommodate that. And so those 2 middle townhomes at least have 2 parking spots in their driveway. I can tell you, having purchased this home in March of 2019, had at that time it been listed on in front of these townhomes as no parking, this home would not have even been an option for us to purchase because of the amount of drivers that we have in our home. So it's very, kind of feels like a bait and switch thing that you're now looking to make it no parking. It sounds like the speeding concerns, which I agree with, and some of my neighbors in the townhomes and myself have also called about that, are separate from the parking, which is what I believe is technically in front of us tonight. There currently is no yellow line on the road in front of the townhomes. So I don't believe that would necessarily be that the townhomes are equally divided, or I should say that the road is equally divided. There are many roads such as Spruce Street where if you're coming down Spruce, if there was a yellow line there, you accommodate parking on one side of the road. I also, everyone has been talking about the 18 feet. I was looking at the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation Design Manual. And when I spoke with Mr. Terry, we both agreed that Roosevelt Street would be considered a local road. And they identify a narrow local road as 26 feet wide, which is what my neighbors and I actually had measured it to be. I know Mr. Terry said 25 and some, we had measured it at 26. For a narrow road, low to medium density, what is recommended is it to either be a one-way street with parking on both sides or a two-way street with parking on one side. So I think if anything, to accommodate maybe some of the concerns would be maybe to make it parking only on the one side of the road due to the narrowness of this road. I was also looking at the Lehigh County parcel viewer, and you are able to see on there that the road is actually wider in front of the townhomes, where you're proposing there be no parking. The area that you're proposing for us to park when you're looking at the county parcel viewer is narrower. So I'm not sure why we're being recommended to park in a narrower section of the road in front of, as opposed to being able to park in front of our own homes. I also have concerns for a handicapped relative that has a handicap placard on their vehicle. When they would come to visit, you're basically asking me then to either take my vehicle out of the driveway to park up the road so that they would be able to park in my driveway, or you'd be asking them to walk from at least in front of 4230 Roosevelt all the way down to my home. I also have concerns, like I said, I would not have purchased this home if there was no parking on the street in front of it. It also is going to affect my resale value if this goes into effect. I know there have been concerns expressed in regards to 2 cars passing when there are vehicles parked here. I've not had an issue with that personally. I would say if I've waited for a vehicle to go by me, it's probably just as many times as I do it driving up or down Spruce Street, which is an emergency snow route. This road is not that significantly different than that road, I believe, in its width. I believe that's pretty much all I have at this time. I'd like to thank the board for listening.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anybody else in the public room wishing to speak on this?
Is Jay Levine still interested in speaking? Or, also we have a hand raised from Mike Spency. I'll unmute you, Mike. You're now unmuted.
Hi, my name is Mike Ganzi. I'm at 4246 Roosevelt Street. I was the first person who actually bought a townhouse in the 8 townhouses that we are referring to on Roosevelt. I actually worked closely with the builder, sold the builder the land, and we developed the 8 townhouses that are here now. We were told originally that we had to widen the road to accommodate parking. We were told that the road had to be widened, the houses had to be set back a little bit further. Those plans were all approved from day one. I believe we used Lehigh Engineering and then submitted it to the township. But we know that we actually had to put in curbing also, which is a question we had because curbing seems to be an issue along Roosevelt Street. I think past Spruce Street, heading towards 248 towards Everhart Motors, everybody has curbing there, at least on one side of the road. That road is much wider. I actually measured it today to be almost 30 feet wide. As you come to Spruce Street, coming towards the daycare, coming down towards the townhouses, where they're talking about stopping the parking in front of my place and on my other neighbors. I did measure the road periodically coming all the way down. And again, there is no middle divider line. There is no yellow line there. It doesn't start until the high tension wire pole starts where the road gets very narrow. I measured anywhere between 26 feet and 25 feet. I measured from the fire. There is a fire hydrant out in front of the very end townhouse, right before the road gets narrow, heading towards the daycare on Roosevelt. And I measured that at 17 feet. So I don't understand why we're proposing a 410-foot, basically right where the townhouse sidewalks started and right where the townhouses started and where they end, why that is being put in as a no parking zone, when the rest of the street going from where the townhouses start up to Spruce Street, you're allowed to park there, but yet the widths are still the same in some areas, and they vary going up and down the street depending where you measure from the middle of the road to the end of the curb. It actually seems in some areas it actually gets narrower. And I notice now with the snow, and I know that this is just seasonal, but I noticed a lot of people are stopping to allow traffic to go through, because if anybody parks on the right-hand side of Roosevelt, after you make the right off of Spruce, and I've seen quite a few cars parked there on either side of the road, it makes it very difficult to get through. But nobody has brought up this issue yet. They've only brought up where the townhouses start. And yet we are only parking on the side where the builder was told he had to put another 4-foot of roadage in for us to accommodate parking and curbing, which we did. So that's why I get a little bit confused. Why is that 410 feet becoming an issue? And I know that some residents said about pulling out of a driveway. I pull out of the same area, the same drive all the time, and I have plenty and ample look. Even if cars are parked on the street on Roosevelt in front of the townhouses, I can totally see past the car. If I line up perfectly with the car, no, I might have trouble seeing it. But if I pull back a little or a little bit ahead, I can absolutely see pulling out of the parking spot every single time right out of my driveway. And that was another thing. We were not allowed to put in those extra parking spots in the middle townhouses. They did not allow us to put in the extra parking that was needed in front of the townhouses, which could have done. And then the other fourth set of townhouses we put in later on the next year, they allowed parking in front of all the townhouses. So there was no curbing that had to be put in, which was another strange thing, is why 1 year later that changed so drastically. And that's what I had to say about the parking. As far as the speeding and what Brad and me had actually had a conversation one time, and I said I was amazed. I was here almost every single day when these houses were being built, and at the speed that the vehicles went up and down this road, I could not believe it. People doing over the speed limit. The police been called several times. They never showed up. They never came around. Just people coming down here, yelling, screaming out their car, cars going easily well over the speed limit. And that has been an issue. And I noticed after the development and the townhouses went up, the cars were slowing down because they couldn't speed as much. Plus the presence of more people being here. I noticed people starting at Spruce Street, you can literally hear them revving their engines and flying down the road. And when they get down here, they notice people outside and they slowed down because they didn't want to get yelled at for speeding. And I noticed they only did the speed timing for one week. I've lived here over 2 years now, the longest resident here in the townhouses. And we've had no issues with parking whatsoever. We did have a couple neighborhood disputes, which we took care of personally. Some people parking on people's grass or parking out in front of their yard. I understand this is what started all this. I understand that somebody parked on somebody's grass one time. They had an event. Next thing you know, some people had some issues and the word got spread around. You shouldn't be parking there at all. Or I can't see getting out of my driveway. I understand this is why this all got started and what I was told. But at any rate, like I said, I don't see the difference with the parking as far as the distance between the 410 feet that they're proposing versus the rest of Roosevelt Street going all the way to Spruce. The distance is we're off by, I think, a foot in some areas, but yet they're allowing parking up the street, but not in front of, and then they're parking on both sides, keep in mind, on that side of that 410 proposed feet from there to Spruce Street. They're parking on both sides, where we are only parking on the one side where the builder was told he had to put that extra 4 feet in for parking and pay for them curbing. And then a lot of the residents don't even have curbing. So that's where I get a little confused, is how does one resident have to pay for curbing and then the next resident next door doesn't need any curbing whatsoever. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public room wish to speak on this?
Yes, we have Wendy Carpenter. Wendy, you are now unmuted.
Thank you. My name is Wendy Carpenter. I'm at 4310 Roosevelt Street, Whitehall, PA. I'm a resident, not of the townhomes, but I am down the street. Mike is somewhat correct. When this was in the planning stages, as a neighbor, we were at all of the meetings and we tried to bring it to the board's attention back then that the parking was not going to be enough. You guys told us that it was. So now I don't think it's fair that you're trying to make them park somewhere else. You built it, you allowed it, now let them park there. As for the speeding, I don't think that's going to stop, and it goes all the way down the street. It is not just in front of the townhomes. They go all the way down, all the way past my house, past the daycare, all the way down to the firing line at 80 miles an hour. There's drag racing on this street. It's not ever going to stop. We can stand outside and wave at people and they wave back. They're not going to slow down. It's just, unfortunately, what they do in all of the towns. But I just want you to realize that you can't ask somebody who buys a home like that not to have any parking. So please consider to give them their space. That's all we wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Not at this time.
Okay, I'm going to come back to the board now and administrative staff. Anybody else have anything you want to go over with this? It sounds like this needs a long look before we do anything with it. Anything from any of the commissioners? Anything from staff, mayor?
I'd like to add the one method to control the speed would be something called an intersection table or a speed hump. Whitehall Township has not installed these devices. There are places that they're effective at slowing the speed down. However, they also come with some challenges, introducing braking and acceleration noise as people approach them and drive away from them. There have been issues with fire departments and driving their equipment over these and potential damage to especially tanker trucks, water storage. So this is a very challenging situation.
Bill.
This is Commissioner Warren. I guess if this circles back to the board, I'd like to see a detailed map to explain the width of the roadways, and I guess I was going to ask if there was any other traffic calming recommendations that could be implemented, regardless of where we go with this no parking zone.
Certainly, the speed humps, there's signage alternatives. Because of the geometry that's out there, there really isn't much more physically you could do to slow down. I have to say, you can put up a sign, but that doesn't do you a whole lot of good if people aren't going to, behave at 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. They're not likely to change their behavior otherwise. There are pavement markings that we could place on the roadway in an attempt to slow down. Very frequently, drivers change their patterns as they approach a road, and it appears to be narrowing because of the pavement striping. So that's something we could look at.
Mr. Terry, this is Commissioner Fisher. I know there have been other speeding issues in other parts of the township, but has PennDOT been an issue? Like, if we want to put these things in place, does PennDOT not let us do it? Because I know there's some specific places that like residents had been concerned about speeding, but we couldn't do anything about it just because of PennDOT issues. Would PennDOT apply to Roosevelt Street? How could we go about this?
PennDOT actually does have approved traffic control measures that we could use to slow down. We would have to follow their guidelines and then their specific details for how they were constructed. But I don't believe PennDOT would stop us on Roosevelt Street.
Okay. Would those measures include the speed humps and the drawing and the line markings?
Correct. Yes.
So this could be an option for us.
Yes, it could.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Gibbons, Frank, if I could jump in a minute.
Sure.
Okay, a couple of things came up. I was listening to the residents. One of the things that maybe they're not aware of, when this project was proposed, they tried to keep under 10,000 square feet of new impervious cover. And that was a decision made by the developer at the time. And what happens is that the way the DEP rules are, if you add over 10,000 square feet of new impervious cover, i.e. rooftops, paving, sidewalks, you then have to go to a full-blown stormwater management study. The developer did not want to do that, so they kept it under 10,000 square feet. So the amount of those extra parking places are still kind of within that budget of 10,000 square feet. That's why the first set that was built didn't have it, because we weren't sure how that was going to go with their available allowance, if you will. They did provide the 2 off-street parking places, which is required by ordinance. We cannot require any more spaces. All right, that's not allowed. So our hands are tied there. They did meet the minimum requirements, which we had to let them pass. In regard to the comment that there was no curbing, there's curbing out there along the whole edge of the road. Most of it in those second set of townhouses, it's a depressed curb, which means it's almost level with the street, but there is curb there. So nobody got away with anything by not having to do something. That's how it all fell together. That's it.
Thank you, Frank. Anything else from the commissioners or staff on this? Then at this point, I believe it goes back and we got to take another look at this and get this right. This is, we're not quite there with this.
We have one comment from Jay. He wishes to speak again. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Jay, you are now unmuted.
Yes, this is actually Dana Bortz talking again. I just wanted to clarify, no one was stating, at least to my understanding from the residents, that there's not curbing in front of the townhomes. There is curbing and sidewalk in front of all the townhomes. There is not curbing and there is no sidewalk in front of 4236 Roosevelt Street and across the street from the townhomes, which I believe is 4255.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments by the board?
We have another comment from the public, Mike Gansey.
Send
You're
them
now
through.
unmuted.
Send them through, please.
Mike, you're now unmuted.
All right, thanks, board, for listening again. Yes, going back to what Terry had mentioned, Peter Terry, about putting in a like a bump stop in the road. It's funny that he brought that up. I know we're talking about parking and an issue about putting in a no parking area in front of the townhouses. However, the speed keeps coming up for a reason, and that is if we can get the speed and we can get the people that are consistently using the road, and it seems to be a lot of the, and believe me, I spent hours and hours and hours out at this street during the building, developing, and even after moving into the house, just being out front and talking to other neighbors. It's just the speed, I think, is an issue in the sense that people are going so fast, and there is that crest where the power lines, when you're coming towards Spruce Street, coming up that street, it is kind of like a blind. You have to, you come up over the top and then boom, the cars are there. And I think if we did, well, before the house, or I'm sorry, before the road had gotten repaved again, before the builder finished up, it was the last thing that he did. The road was pretty rough. And there were some areas where you did have to kind of slow down because if you didn't, you could have bottomed out. And we noticed that the traffic was a lot slower when they did that. And I understand what Peter was saying. If you put in some sort of, bump stop or something there, it can cause people to really hit their brakes or be alarmed. Or, I mean, I think something maybe to that lines could be done maybe around where the power lines start. And it starts going down towards the daycare. And I noticed somebody had mentioned earlier, what was her name, Wendy? Yeah. I think Wendy had mentioned earlier that they do pick up speed. I mean, we've heard the engines really rev after they get past the townhouses. And I think even in that area there where, even if they were to put something wide, like a bird or something in there to slow it down, I think it's a good, maybe some signage, even having a cop at the daycare, which I suggested on 3 or 4 different occasions when Whitehall Police was out here at our residence already for situations of people speeding so fast. We had a car one night that went up and down the street 4 times, speeding, doing at least 80, 90 mile an hour, screaming at the top of their lungs. We called the cops and never showed up. We basically had them screaming at us from the road. And I think if you just had a cop once in a while sit down at the daycare, they get a heck of an amount of tickets. I think everybody can agree that lives on Roosevelt Street. I think that's one thing that we all do agree on, if we agree on something, is the speeding. I think if we could slow the traffic down, the parking would not be an issue. If you'd ever go down that road at 25 mile an hour, which I'm sure most of you have already done, you can tell there's adequate amount of parking for buses. We have UPS drivers going down here now. The Amazon trucks are coming down here. I've seen Amazon and school buses pass at the same time with parking. Neither one of them had any problem. Neither one of them having to slow down. Now with the snow, it's a different story, but I've witnessed it over and over and over again. I really think the underlining thing here is the speeding. If we can get the traffic to slow down, I don't think the parking would even be an issue. But that's all I have to say, and thank you for listening.
All right. We're starting to hear the same stuff twice on this. Anybody else have anything they want to go over on this evening?
Yes, we have Wendy Carpenter who's raised her hand again. Wendy, you're
Yes,
now
hi.
unmuted.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Steve Carpenter. I do work for the township, but I do want to bring up about those speed bumps. You know, we do plowing and stuff like that. That's going to put havoc on the plows and stuff like that, and the equipment. You know, I'm not a big fan of them. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, anybody else in the public room, Wendy?
We have one more, Brad. Brandemir, he said, I had suggested that as well. Have a cop sit somewhere on the road to deter speeders. I understand Egypt is a quiet and safe place compared to other areas of Whitehall.
Good. Does he want to speak?
Brad, you're now unmuted.
No, I was just kind of mirroring what the other gentleman said about, you know, having a cop either at the daycare or I'm pretty sure the lady that hit me was somebody dropping somebody off of the daycare, dropped the kid off and ran quick. I even talked with the owners of the daycare and they kind of could have assumed who it was, but not going back to the being hit. But the speeders are a big problem. And if anything, those cars sitting on the road helped to slow some people down. It's just the bottleneck feature that I think is probably some residents are complaining about. Me, myself, I'm north of that or south of that, so I'm not really concerned about the parking, but the speeders are a bigger issue for me, especially with a 4-year-old that plays out front with supervision of myself.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else, Melissa?
No, not at this time.
There being none, any commissioners have any comments? Okay, we got work to do, so back it goes. Moving on public hearing and voting on resolutions. Resolution number 3146, a resolution for sewage facilities plan revision for new land development of George McCool located at 4601 Quarry Street, Whitehall, PA. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mark.
We have a second.
I'll second it, Warren.
Comments from the board? Any comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
and President Ginder.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3147, a resolution for storage facilities plan revision for new land development of 3434 North Front Street, Whitehall, Pennsylvania. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Fisher.
I went first. Sloniker went first and Fisher
Okay.
was second.
Okay. Comments from the board? Comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Attia,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3148, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners, Township of Whitehall, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, establishing Camp Whitehall rates for the year 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Warren.
Do I have a second?
Attia, I'll second it.
Questions from the board? Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public, Melissa?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
Commissioner D?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Ginder?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3149, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners, Township of Whitehall, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, establishing pool pass rates for the year 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, D.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tom can second.
You figured that out, Tom?
I just put me in because I heard me first.
Any comments from the board? Comments from the board? Melissa, anybody in the public wishing to speak on this?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner D?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren? Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
And President Ginder.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3150, a resolution conditionally approving the minor subdivision plan of Saraceno lot line adjustment located at 4505 and 4507 Scheides Road, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, index number 1973-20. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, Marks.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Sloniker.
Okay.
Sloniker.
Comments from the board?
This has evolved because of the extra property that's on the back end of the, I don't know if it's even the second lot, but then there's this building that was a residence at one time, then it's converted to supposedly a shed and a residence in the front building. Has all of that stuff been fixed? Because it just seemed like this has gone on for a long time. And I'm not talking about the year-long stuff. I'm talking about what we've had recently in the past few months.
Frank, can you speak to this?
Reasonably. From what I understand, the owner of the house that's being converted has applied for demolition permits. There has also received a one call for the disconnection of the water line and the sanitary sewer lateral. Once those two items are disconnected, I believe the attorney for the homeowner is going to approach the Lehigh County Board of Assessment to get the house that's currently listed as a house, to get it turned into a storage building. That'll change the county's assessment records. And at that time, then I think we can be reasonably assured that it's not going to be a dwelling unit. That was always the big bugaboo.
And there will not be any permits issued to do anything except right now for the demolition when that would occur, correct?
That was, yeah, that's the condition that we put on it, that all those things have to be disconnected and it cannot be used for any kind of habitation.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Comments from the public? Anybody in the public, Melissa?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
President Ginder.
Yes.
President Ginder,
Yes.
resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3151, a resolution appointing Vincent Mizuraka to serve on the Whitehall Township Building Code Board of Appeals. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Fisher.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Warren.
Comments from the board?
I just want to say that when we interviewed Mr. Misaraka, he seems to have had quite a deal of experience on planning commissions previously, and he is an Eagle Scout. So that's all I have to say.
Any other comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
was that an aye? I'm sorry.
Yes. Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Under other, a motion to approve the appointment of Ann Fryman to serve on the Whitehall Township Planning Commission, term expiring December 31st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll move. Sloniker.
Second.
I'll second, Mark.
Comments from the board? Comments from the public? Any comments from the public, Melissa?
No comments from the public. Ann Fryman has just said, thank you for the opportunity to serve again.
No, we thank her. We thank her for all her years of service to this township. There being no other comments, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia, Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner Atia,
I believe he said yes.
okay, I couldn't
I
hear him.
know. I know it's hard.
All right, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
President Ginder,
Yes.
motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
A motion to approve the reappointment of John Del Cerro to serve on the Whitehall Township Environmental Advisory Council and Shade Tree Committee, term expiring December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, D.
I'll second, Fisher.
Comments from the board? Comments from the public? Anybody, Melissa?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve the appointment of Joanne Corey to the Whitehall Township Environmental Advisory Council, term expiring December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll move. Atia.
I have a second.
I'll second D.
Comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve the appointment of Deborah Rosine to the Whitehall Township Environmental Advisory Council, term expiring December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Fisher.
Do I have a second?
Sloniker got his name in there first.
Comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia, Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve the appointment of Monica Chipper to the Whitehall Township Environmental Advisory Council, term expiring December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion D.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, Fisher.
Comments from the board?
I'd like to make one comment, President Ginder.
Go ahead.
It's an honor for me to introduce the motion. I worked with Monica years ago in the absolute worst job I've ever held in my life. And she was the one bright spot. She's a great person and a real asset to the township. And her and everybody we are voting on, I just want to thank them for stepping up to volunteer for the township. So anybody who wants to get involved, please get involved. We can use all the help we can get. But thank you to everybody who's stepping up, who we're nominating and approving tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other comments from the board?
Yes, really quick, President Ginder. So I just want to bring it to everyone's attention, just the really interesting circumstances that got Monica back here tonight. Some weeks back, we were trying to get the Environmental Advisory Committee Facebook page working again, and it hadn't been updated since 2013. So we had no idea who the administrator was, and since it was a semi-official page, we were trying to figure out who it was. So Commissioner Warren sent a message to the page asking, like, just throwing it out into the void, asking, like, who owns this page? And Monica came back and she said, oh, this was my page. I created it in 2013. And, you know, an offer was put in there if she wanted to come back to the board, and she happily said yes. So she's back. We're gonna get the Facebook page going. She's an old hat to the Environmental Advisory Committee, and she's experienced. So I've spoken with her extensively, and, you know, I'm really, as to just echo Commissioner D's words, we're really glad to have her and everyone else that we're appointing tonight involved with the township. So thank you, guys.
Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner D,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Atia,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. President Ginder.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve the appointment of Richard Pence to the Whitehall Township Civil Service Commission, alternate. Term expiring December 31st, 2026. Do I have a motion?
I move. Sloniker.
Do I have a second?
Tia, I'll second.
Comments from the board? Any comments from the board?
Bill, I'd like to make a quick comment.
Go right ahead.
I just want to thank Mr. Benz. The reason I got an education, he was my high school teacher for my career education course, and I just want to thank him again for everything he's done for me, but also his service to the township. So thank you.
Nicely said. Any other comments from the board? Comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
There being none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Attia.
Yes.
Yeah, aye.
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
President Ginder.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, under discussion item, treasurer's salary, because the treasurer's position is up for election this year, we need to set a salary for that position starting for next year, 2022. Jack Myers, deputy mayor, he forwarded us some numbers from the treasurer for about the past 15, 16 years. What are the board's wishes with this? Open this up for discussion. What are the board's wishes? All right, this always gets a little ginger when we set these salaries. The existing salary, I wrote some of this down that we were giving. The township pays in $37,374. The school district puts in $24,131, which is a total of $61,505 plus the tax certifications, which you never know how many they are. They just go by property and buildings sold for the year. The township pays the health, the pension, and the life insurance on this position. So there is a huge value on that also. So as we set this, I know setting these salaries is new to some of the board. You could set a salary, for example, of 1.5% the first 2 years and 2% the last 2 years, or not raise it at all over 4 years, or not raise it the first year and raise it a little bit the second and third, and not, you can do any combination of anything over the 4 years. So I know with money tight and everything, if that's a consideration, the salary can be left go for the first year and put some increases in later years if so desired. Does anybody have any thoughts on this?
I have a question. Do we know what, was there a certain percentage it has been raised each year?
Well, Jack Myers sent us a list. Did you get to see that, Mick?
Yeah, I have it.
So I don't know what the percentage is to those amounts. What I'm looking at is the 2006 to 2000 wasn't raised in 2010. And then they were small increments, but I don't have the ability to do the math on those right now. We'll be here all night if I have to cipher through that.
Well, me too. I just didn't know if there was a standard increase from each treasurer, if it was 1.5% or 2%. I didn't know if there was anything.
No, if you look, the numbers even stagger a little bit here and there.
As I recall, this is Sloniker. As I recall, there wasn't specifically any time where it was. I think at times it was X number of dollars increased. And when we got into looking at the township then executive, now mayor, I think that's when we went to the more of the standard of having a percentage raise similar to the bargaining and non-bargaining people that are in the township. So if we're part of this position though was during the years, different activities that were performed by the treasurer were not were deleted. For example, the earned income function that the treasurer did, that was deleted. But in that same time period, though, there was an increase in the amount that they were paid. So sometimes it doesn't seem like it makes rhyme or reason for this increase to happen, but obviously you want to try and pay what you can for this position, which is very important, and to try and get the best candidate suitable for the job to happen.
This is Commissioner Warren. Are you done, Tom?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, back in 2012, we were paying this person, the township contribution was $35,215. Right now, we're sitting at $37,374. So a little over $2,000 in all those years is not a significant increase. Every department head, every staff, their pension, their medical, all their benefits are paid by the township as well. And so I think if we say no raise, the person that would be in that position would be losing ground. So I'm supportive of some raise. I know we're providing our elected officials 2.75% right now. It varies from the other department heads, but this is probably, if you consider this a department head, it's probably the lowest paid department head in the whole township.
But in that same vein, though, Jeff, like I said, we had a significant amount of work that was deleted from mission. So, and again, I'm not saying right, wrong, or in between. I'm just giving you the reasons that if you look at the other department heads, generally people pick up more work or it stays the same rather than a decrease. And again, I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just telling you what the facts are here. I'm done. Sorry.
Any other comments from the board? Welcome back to the board. Anybody from the public wish to speak about this? Is there anybody there, Monica, that wants to speak on this issue?
No comments so far.
All right, back to the board.
My suggestion is increasing the rate at like 1.5 to 2% a year, whichever that you might want to do. And I would think that would be something that would be on the anniversary date of when these raises go into effect, rather than, because I know the other night at the workshop, I think somebody mentioned the maybe go ahead and give the big bump right at the beginning and then nothing during the succeeding years. So I would think, like I said, between 1.5 to 2%. If somebody says a different number, whatever comes to mind.
I will agree with Tom that 1.5 to 2%, because there have been duties taken away over the years. And however we want to stagger that, I mean, we could go like 1.5 the first year, 2% the second, 1.5 the third, and 2% the fourth. Because
I wouldn't want something like that where I would want the same amount each year. That's what I'm saying. So it would be 2% for the 4 years or 1.5% for the 4 years. And again, everybody has a say on this.
It's going to be different on this. Because to attract qualified people for this position to run for this office, I mean, you know, you got to have a decent salary there. You know, I think we have to keep that in mind, you know, even though we've talked about some other things coming in the future, we still have to deal with this for 4 more years. I don't know. Does anybody else have any ideas on percentages?
I'm going to suggest 2% to start off with.
I'm with Mick. I think if we provide 1%, we're not even keeping up with the cost of living raise. And right now, the deputy treasurer was making just shy of what the treasurer probably was made, minus the tax certs. But if they're not getting a boost from the school district, 2% is not very much of the township contribution. Do we expect, we don't expect the treasurer's duties to get any less in the next 4 years?
Don't know at this point. Don't know at this point. You know, we are going to start talking in legal and legislative about, you know, changes to be made to that the treasurer's position, but who knows? Will some of this stuff be subbed out further, or will it grow, or what? You know, I don't think anybody can truthfully say that at this point.
And Jeff, the only reason I bring up 2%, I mean, from 2006 to 2010, it didn't raise at all. It stayed the same. And just keeping in mind with the age of COVID that we're in, that's why I'm suggesting to start at 2%. Could always increase it as we move out of COVID. And
you can't increase it. Once you set it, you set it. It's set for 4 years. It's an elected position. So once we set it, we set it. It cannot move. I think I'm right. It cannot move because it's an elected.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, so what we set, we set.
But it looks like it has moved in the past.
Say that again?
According to these numbers, it did move in the past. 2010 to 2011, it increased.
Well,
yes, but that was already figured in with the boost. Every year you would get 2%, 2.5%, something like that. It wasn't that, oh, we see that person's doing a great job and we can give a raise. We can't do that.
It's an elected position. The salary's set for the term of that position.
Okay.
It's like we did the mayor's 2 years ago. That salary set for the 4 years of that term.
Right.
That's because you can't give anybody, an elected official, a raise in the middle of their term, so to speak.
But we can give a raise that each year it kicks in another 2%, another
yes
3%, whatever. That is allowable.
That is allowed. We set that before the election.
Right.
Any other comments from the board on this?
The only thing that I'd like to bring up is that the school district, I think they should be kicking in a little bit more on their side. To go ahead and say that nobody over there has gotten a raise for how many years, it's kind of hard to believe. And they're doing for the school district that the same duties are there that were there before. So like I said, that to me is something where they should kick in. I know we don't have any authority to say that, but it just seems like once again the township is carrying the water, and they just sit back and don't do their part.
Now, what we're trying to get out of this tonight is to push either a number forward or leave it alone, because we won't be voting on this till next month. We still could take this into March to set this amount of money, because of course the petitions of anybody running for this position don't have to be in until mid-March. So we could pass a percentage forward, whatever it be, 0 to whatever you want to do, get it on the paperwork for March, and then come the workshop, you know, you can debate this again. I think the point I'm trying to make is we should get some number, be it 0, be it whatever, forward into the paperwork going into March, to be voted on in March. And that number again can be changed again in March, but at least we have something on paper that the administration can put forward to us. Any other comments from the board on this? All right, I'm going to move out in front of this a little bit. I've heard 2% tonight by, I believe, 3 commissioners. Is that correct?
I'll support that as well. That'd be a 4th.
That would be a 4th commissioner. I will go with the 2%.
Commissioner Fisher will support 2%.
I'll support 2% a year for the 4 years. Marks.
Okay, then I believe what we will do tonight is push forward the 2% that they get the, that'll be by resolution. Attorney.
I have a question here.
Yes.
Are we saying then it'll be a 2% raise per each year on what the prior year was? That's what I'm hearing here, rather than 2%, because there's a big difference.
There's a huge difference. What are the wishes of the board?
I would like to see this. I agree with Tom. I would like to see the school at least contribute some, because if we give 2 and they give 2, then, well, it's not a 4% raise.
Well, we can't control them though, Jeff. I mean,
I understand that, but for them to give out raises to everybody else in this, stay flat all these years. But I'm fine with our proposal here on the table.
Yeah, but the question Commissioner Sloniger's presented, do we want to do just 2% and carry that through the 4 years, or do we want to do 2% each year? Any feelings on this?
Commissioner Fisher, I think maybe I'd want to see the math in front of me. I understand Commissioner Sloniger's concern. I just would have to do the math. Like it's almost like it's compounding every year. So
well, yeah, it does. So like anybody else's raises do in the township. Yeah. You know, that's just the way it is. It compounds every year, so to speak.
And I understand that. I'm okay with it, but I also kind of just want to see like the hard numbers in front of me. I'd have to do the math.
Well, you would see the numbers on the. Hold on a sec, Attorney Gross. This would be by ordinance or resolution? By ordinance.
It's by ordinance, yes.
Okay, so for the commissioners, you would see by March's workshop, you would see an ordinance printed with the dollar amounts there and the percentage there.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
And then at that point, you could change it again before it's voted on the second Monday of March. You know, you can make adjustments from that point. If I'm correct, Attorney.
You're correct. Yep, I'm sorry.
So is that the way we wish to handle it?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Everybody else good with that? We're not taking a vote here. Anybody object to doing it that way? Let's do it that way. All right, there being no objections, I guess this would go to Jack Myers. Are you on, Jack?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do you understand what the board wants to see on this?
Absolutely.
All right, and Jack, thanks for putting all these numbers and information together. I know you got a lot going every day. Thanks for doing this.
No problem.
All right, thanks, Jack. All right, that takes care of that. Reports of public officials. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, President Ginder. So rather than being consistent voice of doom and gloom with the virus, I just want to say that, you know, in the last month or so, we have been seeing substantial improvement across the country. I've got my fun graphics here. So this was January. This is almost maxed out around 129,000 cases of hospitalizations across the United States. And today, right before we came on, we're looking at 81,000 cases. We have a nice little dip. This has been going for new cases, hospitalizations. I believe deaths have plateaued. It's actually nice to be able to report some good news with the virus. Vaccinations are coming. I believe the rate of vaccination is maybe like 1.3 million a day across the country. We're up to 42 million vaccinations. It's some good news. The bad news, there is always that concern about the new variants that are coming out. The variant that was first identified in the UK last fall has now been shown to be doubling in the United States every 10 days. So within the next few months, it's going to probably become the dominant strain in the United States. The news out today from South Africa wasn't great, that there is a variant there that's taken over 90% of their country, which means it's spreading very quickly, outcompeting other strains. And also that the AstraZeneca vaccine trial that was running in South Africa was paused just due to it not working against this variant. So my point is we're seeing some great news in the United States, but it's still going to be a heck of a battle again to beat out this virus. The vaccines are coming. If you can get the vaccine, get it. Do not be ashamed. Get it when you can get it. We need to try to get as many people vaccinated as possible before these variants hit. I've heard it likened to that we're in the eye of the storm right now. So please, just everyone continue to exercise caution, wear your face masks, keep your social distancing. So it wasn't entirely doomy and gloomy tonight. But the other thing I want to bring up, and Commissioner D and I were discussing this, I just really want to thank all of the volunteers who stepped up, who have joined boards and commissions. Thank you so much. The township appreciates everything you do. Whenever we interview a new person for a board or commission, one of my questions is, what can you do to bring more people like you? You have stepped up. You've shown you want to participate in the township. Now we want more of you. So thank you. Thank you. And the absolute last thing I want to say, also in the good news, is, as I said before, the Environmental Advisory Committee's Facebook page is going to be operational again and updated. They are having meetings. The next one, I believe, is this week at Thursday, February 11th at 7 o'clock at the grist mill. These things are all going to be on Facebook now, so just follow that page, get active in the township. Thanks you. So that's all I have, and I'll hand it back to President Ginder.
Phil, can I just follow up with something Chuck said? Because at the last meeting of the Environmental Advisory Council, actually they had a meeting of what we're calling an ad hoc littering committee, and they decided they were going to go to 6:30, not only for the Environmental Advisory Committee ad hoc committee, but they're going to start getting things going at 6:30 if anybody is interested in participating in the attempt we're underway to control littering. So 6:30 is the time that they're going to be getting together this week.
Anything else?
That's it.
Commissioner Warren.
Thanks, Mr. Ginder. On January 14th, the Whitehall Copley Hunger Initiative had their ribbon cutting ceremony for the food pantry at St. John's and Stiles. On that day, they had over 7,500 pounds of food available for distribution, and they had a pretty good sizable crowd. This Thursday, again, February 11th, between 11 and 1 and 5:30 and 7, they're having another distribution. It was a great event, widely attended, and everybody was thankful for what they did get. And there was some clothing that was also distributed. Is Chief Nelson on the line here tonight?
I saw him earlier.
He is. He is, but I don't see him having any microphone.
Can you hear me?
I'm just curious as how we are
Yes, we can
making out.
hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey, hi, Chief. Thanks. Have we made any progress with our AFG grant, Assistance to Firefighters grant?
Actually, I spoke with the gentleman that was doing it, and he gave me some bad news that 20 years is what our portables are at. He's saying they need to go to more to 25. So that's where we're at. We're trying to look at different things to put in place of it.
I guess I'm not understanding, but
we were going to put in for portable radios.
Yes.
And those radios apparently have to be 25 years old. Which,
okay.
I wasn't aware of that. Ours are at 20. So we could put in for them, but the chances of us getting them are going to be slim to none, is what he said.
Right. And so I just wanted to ask, because the 14th or the 12th, excuse me, the 12th is the deadline for this round of applications.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I have, Phil. One other thing too, I was thankful to see the mayor's report today and the discussion about trying to improve traffic flow around the Chick-fil-A at the Whitehall Town Center. And, having been driving there, it seems like that center median could be widened on the Chick-fil-A side, because the turning lane isn't needed to get onto MacArthur Road as much as the width for a car to get around to go straight. And it just seems like maybe even paint markings would help, because right now cars are blocking the center lane. And if a car just wants to simply get around to use it as a jug handle, they're not able to navigate because the car is right in the middle. So I welcome that your efforts to make that better. So thank you.
Commissioner D.
Thank you, President Ginder. I just happened to get a text alert. We're expecting 2 to 4 more inches of snow. So a big shout out to our Public Works Department handling this last snowstorm. I'm not a big Facebook user. I kind of glanced at it, and I saw mostly complaints that streets weren't plowed and the alleys weren't plowed and this wasn't plowed. And my only thought was, we got almost 30 inches of snow. It was a boatload of snow. I think roughly 27 inches from everything I've read. These guys did a remarkable job. I know everything didn't get plowed that people wanted to, but I know these guys are working long hours and doing the best they can. So my thanks to each and every one of them. I had my own issues, but you know what? Us old guys need exercise, so I didn't mind doing some shoveling. But seriously, I mean, they did a great job. They'll be back out at tomorrow. When I understand, we're getting another couple inches later in the week. So all I can say is give these guys a break. They're working long hours. They're doing the best they can. It's a big township, so I just ask the residents to be patient with these guys. Commissioner Warren mentioned the Whitehall Copley Food Pantry Thursday. I just want to add that just in case there is inclement weather, they have to postpone it. It'll be the following Thursday, the 18th. Same time, same location. Just keep that in mind. And I want to keep up the talk about volunteering. I am on the Ironton Rail Trail Commission, Oversight Commission, and I know a lot of people out there use the IRT daily, a lot on Saturdays, maybe not as much with the cold weather, but with the weeks ahead, do your part. I can volunteer to clean up the trail as much as I can because they do a lot during the week. On Saturdays, I'll help out when I can. And as nice as it is when someone rides by and says, hey, thanks for what you're doing, it's almost just as aggravating to say, why don't you stop and help? I agree with Commissioner Fisher about the environmental committee getting back together. I think we'd all agree we got a pretty bad trash problem in Whitehall. I was behind somebody the other day. I just couldn't believe they threw a bottle right out the window. I don't understand why people would do that. But you know what? How about on a Saturday, just take a garbage bag and go pick up some trash if you see it. If you're on the rail trail, you see something, pick it up, find a garbage can. Everybody's got to get involved to keep our community clean. So, you know, do your share. I mean, it's nice that you compliment volunteers who are out there spending their time on a Saturday or during the week, but you can do it too. There's no professional crew that cleans up the IRT. It's all done by volunteers. So, you know, step up, be a volunteer. And again, if you're driving somewhere, you see some trash along the road, you know, everybody's got rubber gloves, obviously protect yourself, but maybe do it as a family activity. Pick a road and take a garbage bag on a Saturday and clean it up. So you can do your share as well. So that's it. Thank you very much, President Kinder.
Commissioner Tia.
Well, I don't have much. Most of the commissioners kind of touched on a lot of what I was going to say as well, in terms of just thanking everybody, especially during the snowstorm, public works, first responders. It's not an easy time to work with 30 inches of snow dumped on you. So I just want to thank everybody. It was a real community effort, and it took everybody in the township to kind of get through that snowstorm. So thank you, and everybody stay safe going forward.
Anything else, Randy?
No, that's all I got, Phil. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Sloniger.
Just thank you to all of the people that we appointed to the various boards and whatnot tonight, and good luck, and hopefully that you can continue to serve us as best you can. And also big kudos for the Public Works. I had to traverse through Allentown today, and people in Whitehall, I guess you can become a little bit dated because things are usually done very well, but when you have one of their main arteries, 7th Street, still basically down to 2 lanes basically going in, and the cars are parking on angles rather than the way you're supposed to park. When you see that on a main thoroughfare like that, we can be just thankful for our guys to get out there and do their best here. So that's all.
Commissioner Marks.
I have nothing.
Okay. I only have a few things. Frank, got your ears on?
Yes, Phil.
The large stormwater pipes out to 22. How are we doing with the sewer authority and our issues there?
What we did is, rather than having a big meeting, what I decided to do was sit down with the contractor and Rob Peligian, who I used for my eyes and ears and his expertise in forensics. And we kind of figured out what happened. And right now we're working on proposing a repair and costing it out and checking on materials, things like that. And hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have a package put together for the board to consider.
And have we looked all the way through that pipe?
I haven't gone down any further. We do have video from 2012, which showed the pipe in functioning order. That's something that we could probably do in the future, probably once later in the spring. But right now, I don't have any cost to do that, but we certainly can.
If the last video that we have is from 2012, and this construction in that area has all happened since 2012, and we're sitting with a collapsed pipe, I don't know, you know, can we get that rest of that pipe videoed? Can we maybe ask the sewer authority to do it? I know they have video equipment.
Yeah, we perhaps can, but that was the only area in that stretch of pipe where there was pretty much direct intersection of the 2 utilities.
But what really concerns me is that metal pipe laying in the ground all these years to get a heads up if there's more collapses ready to happen. You know, not that we keep getting surprised with $250,000 worth.
Right.
That's
the way
what I
we,
have in the back of my mind right now to try and keep these surprises out of the future. I mean,
understood.
if this pipe's starting to collapse, which, you know, after 50 years, just galvanized pipe laying in the ground, which is only coated on the inside, not the outside, was my understanding of this, unless I took that wrong. I mean, there's a life expectancy to this pipe, and if we're going to have to, if that's our pipe, and it's going to have to be replaced, I mean, that's a huge amount of money to replace that pipe down to the creek.
Yep.
So it would be nice to know that now instead of having a surprise. Guess what? While we're in there working.
Right. Okay, what we'll do then, we'll set up an inspection for the rest of it and do what they call soundings. We can tap on the pipe and check its condition. It's pretty much at the end of its useful life, according to the manufacturer.
Well, that's what I mean, and this is a huge pipe, and there's a lot of cost with this thing, and it carries. I mean, I don't even want to think about this pipe collapsing and where the storm water is coming from on the north side of 22.
Right.
I don't want to go in there and spend $1 million to scope this pipe. My point is, maybe, you know, we could talk with the sewer authority, and can they help us with their equipment? Scope this pipe out inside. I don't know if that's a possibility or not.
It is a possibility, but you're going to find out more when you have actual folks inside the pipe, and we're able to see and measure. And like I said, if you have a mallet, you can start sounding out the pipe for weak areas, things like that.
Yeah.
And we can put a team together to do that. That's a minimum of 3 people to run that.
The thing is, I'm concerned about money here too. I don't want to keep throwing money at this that we don't have, right, with all the other nonsense going on all the time.
Well, I like your idea. Let's find out what we have, and then we can find out what our risk assessment is for the rest of this pipe, at least for the foreseeable future.
Because you know, if there's one collapse, there may be more, and you know, I'm tired of these surprises. I know nobody can help this stuff, but if we can have these hundreds of thousands of dollar repair surprises, you know, right, it would certainly help the plan into the future.
Well, we looked at, just to give you some comfort, Phil, we're looking at in this particular area significantly less than those costs that you thought about. So the rest of the pipe I can't speak to, but at least this immediate area, we're looking at substantially less.
Yeah. Fairview Avenue, how are we doing?
We have the design finished. We have an estimate, and that'll be the next thing for us to discuss.
All right. So will we be ready to move on that in spring, or is this going to end up a year down the road project?
Well, we're going to, administration is looking at it now, cost-wise, and then we'll come to the board.
All right. And the only other thing I have, I know that the other commissioners thank the Public Works, but I too want to thank the Public Works for all their efforts, and that goes to the police, the fire department, the fire police, the emergency management. I mean, all the hours these people put in to keep things open and things safe in Whitehall. Just have to say thank you, and it's what makes Whitehall special. All right, Mayor, anything?
Okay, a couple of things to highlight. One, something I didn't include in my report is this year we will not be opening the Fullerton pool. We will be opening Hockendackwa and Cementon, depending upon the COVID circumstance. That goes for the camps also. We're at this point, we're still not sure what's going to happen. We're planning on the pools being open. We're planning on Camp Whitehall being open, but this is a movable target. And right now, all I can say is we're planning on it. But Fullerton is going to be down. It's been, almost 50 years since this thing was constructed, and it's just tired at this point. There's just no way to hold it together anymore. So we're going to be doing an evaluation, and this thing could be down another year. We'll see. So I just want to get that out there. The IRT, Mick mentioned 37% increase in the number of people on that trail over last year is just a remarkable improvement in 2020 from 2019. Everybody's got to be happy with what the public works people have been doing. We know they're all great, and we can just keep on singing their praises to the public. These guys have just worked and worked and worked and worked, and I think they've done a pretty good job. And I have to admit that driving around the township, I saw lots of people who were carrying snow from 20 feet to 50 feet just so they didn't throw it out into the street. It's just wonderful to see that. Couple other things that I wanted to mention. The Chick-fil-A thing, I have another meeting tomorrow, and we're hoping to find a solution to the problem there. Chick-fil-A has been very interested in working, and the owner of the town center that Chick-fil-A is surrounded by, he's been very helpful also. So I want to thank those two for trying to come to a good resolution of this. Public safety building is doing very well, moving along. 329 Bridge, we've been meeting there. That's on track, but we're running into a glitch with a proposed lighting contract, but I think we're going to get through that. And beyond that, I just want to put a shout out there to the communities that care, doing the work they're doing in our community and helping with the school district, trying to improve the opportunities and assisting in developing better citizens tomorrow. So they do a great job also. I just want to say, as you did earlier, Phil, Eddie Andrisovitz, great guy. He'll be sorely missed, as will someone you mentioned last Monday, Herbie Saylor. I was there for his internment and spent time talking with his wife. Wonderful people. Anytime somebody devotes 50 years and more to help volunteer in the community, they need some respect. And Herbie did a great job for us too. Now I'll stop.
Is that it, Mayor?
That's it.
Okay, treasurer's report. Is the treasurer on yet?
She should
The
be.
treasurer is on.
She is, but there
Okay.
she goes.
All right. So for whatever reason, we were unable to have the planned executive session for me to have the opportunity to provide you with as much possible information to the board. I'm still very eager to meet with you to clarify concerns, but I can clarify some now. During the 3 month time when I had no employees and I wasn't going to the bank as often as I should have, I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Myers, who was awesome. Because we worked together, we were able to deposit almost $2 million more by using the method that I used. Rather than go to the bank every day, I did more deposits, and then when I go the next day or the day after that, I'd have more to deposit. I think that was more beneficial to Whitehall Township than it would have been for me to go to the bank every day, even though it says that in our in our rules and regulations. I think that it turned out for the better of the township. I also would like to point out that for 15 months, I was down an employee, which made all of us have to do more work here. And by the way, Jack, thanks again for all your help at that time. Then at the end of the year, 6 weeks of COVID was no fun. It made things very, very difficult for me. My staff did step up, but there were a lot of things that were not done. I'm hoping that you all did get your reports that I worked very diligently on. I realize that they were not on time, but you do have them now. And I also would just like to say that there was no unlawful conduct on my part. There were just situations that were very difficult to handle. People leaving the department and then taking time to hire other people. There were many times that I did not have a full staff. So I'm hoping that things are better from now till the end of my term, but I'm not a quitter. So I'm just going to make every effort to do things the way they have to be done for the betterment of the township. I also am a lifetime Whitehall Township resident. I love this township. I would do nothing to make it look bad or run badly. Thank you. I'm done.
All right. Anybody have anything else for the good of the organization, so to speak? There being nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion, Fisher.
Do I have a second?
I'll second D.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good
Have a
night.
good night.